Hello friends, this is Hedda. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to go through the books that I read in June and the spreads that I made for said books in my reading journal. This is going to be a long one because I actually read 4 books in June and I'm really excited to share those with you. So stay tuned for the whole video, make sure that you subscribe and click that like button. This video is kindly sponsored by Takkti. You guys know I love Takkti. My previous bullet journal was in a Takkti notebook. I also own a big selection of stickers and washi tape from Takkti as well. And my cover page for June was heavily inspired by Takkti and Mei Lin's art. Also, if you didn't know, Mei Lin started her own architecture firm after opening Takkti. So she has like 2 businesses, which is crazy. I don't know how she does it. While I get started on my cover page, let me tell you a little bit more about Takkti. I always make a cover page for each month in my reading journal because it lets me separate the books into monthly chapters in a way, and it's also a great excuse to play with stationery. For my June cover page, I used some printables and stickers from Takkti from their cloud collection, and it was so easy to download and print the printables, and since it's all black and white, you don't really need any colored ink, just the black ink will do. I just used some scissors to cut them out. And then I wanted to take some inspiration from one of Takkti's notebooks, so I got out some black fine liners and I made this flowing line art across the spread. It's not as nice as Mei Lin's, but I still think it looks really cool, and I also think it looks fun paired with the cloud circle printable and the stickers because it creates some movement in between all of the circles that I ended up gluing onto this page. This notebook that I took inspiration from is actually the one that I used as my bullet journal last year, and I was blown away by the high quality and the design. Takkti really values eco-friendliness and high quality above all else when it comes to their product line. They specialize in notebooks, but they also have a wide selection of washi tapes and stickers, as well as printables. The paper in their notebooks is FSC certified, and they use no plastic in their packaging. I really like that they offer both bound notebooks and notebooks where you can switch out the inserts, and this way you can use the cover several times even if you fill up the inserts. I own both the bound ones and the ones that you can switch out the inserts. The inserts contain the exact same paper as the bound ones, so you can't really go wrong. Takkti is located in Austria, so for all of my European viewers especially, Takkti is such a great choice if you want an environmentally friendly notebook that is not traveling too far. They're all produced in Europe as well, but of course they ship worldwide, so it's not just for the Europeans. Go to takkti-shop.com to see their full selection of products and to shop for your favorites. And when you're ready to check out, use the code mochibujo10 for 10% off. This is an affiliate code, so I do get a little percentage off of each sale, but you also get a discount, so really it's a win-win situation. I was actually struggling quite a bit with the layout of the spread because what I knew I wanted was the big cloud circle printable and the flowing drawing like the line art, but I wasn't quite sure about how to display the books that I read. And I knew I wanted a little bit of color because most of the stickers from Takkti and the washi tape is in black and white, and I wanted to bring a little bit of color in there. So the grid paper on the left page that I kind of used as a background has a little bit of pink in it, or like a red, very similar to the kind of post-it notes or sticky notes that I am cutting out a circle of here. So I decided to use those sticky notes in combination with the grid paper and kind of have that be the color of the spread. It was a complete coincidence, but the grid sticky notes also fit the color of the washi paper that I used on the left page perfectly, so I decided to use some of those too. But because of the big circle, I decided to cut out circles instead of using the square frames so that I'll write the books that I read in June directly onto the circles instead of having frames like I normally do. And I think that the end result turned out really cute, so I'm happy that I went with the circles. For my June title, I just used some of the paper that I actually cut out of this notebook, and I just drew or wrote June, but only the outline kind of, so that the title is still white with just the black outline. If you haven't watched my 2023 reading journal setup yet, you should go watch that, because I show how I kind of dissected my notebook a little bit so that it would have a few less pages, because my reading journals always get super chunky, so I decided to take out a few pages this time to just avoid it getting too thick. I also decorated with a few butterfly stickers because they were kind of gray-ish, but they had a little bit of red in them, and I thought that that little pop of color was subtle but enough to kind of give the spread a little more color. I wanted it to be black and white, but it's nice to have a little hint of color still. I also used 2 different washi tapes from Takkti. One of them has the moon phases on it and the other is like a starry sky. I really like them. And then I used some of my remaining cloud circle stickers and kind of just layered them underneath and in between the larger pink circles. Actually, I'm not sure what to call this color because it's like red, peach, pink, orange. I don't know. There's a lot going on the spread, so at the top I just wrote books I read in June. Very simple, minimal kind of title for the right side of the spread. And then I used these little gray tone circle washi stickers all over the page. I really like these and I usually use them whenever I make a black and white theme. I've run out now, sadly, so if anyone knows where I can get these, that would be great. The last thing that I did was to use my kind of reading star rating stamp from Notebook Therapy. I started using these in May and I thought I would give it another go this month and use them on my June cover page as well, kind of see how I like it, because I need to use things a little bit longer than 1 month before I can say if I like it or not. That is it for the cover page, and I really like how it turned out. It's like chaotic, but good chaotic, you know? Moving on to the first book spread of the month of June, and the first book that I read is called Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I went for a sunflower theme for the spread. It is the same theme that I used in my bullet journal for July, and I just, have a lot of sunflower stickers from my shop and my Patreon rewards and this beautiful washi tape, so I thought I really want to use it in my reading journal as well. I've only read one book by Taylor Jenkins Reid in the past, and that book was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I absolutely loved that book, so I'm not sure why it has taken me so long to read a second book by Reid, but yeah, this is the one, Daisy Jones and the Six, and I listened to the audiobook, and that was just a coincidence really, but I'm really happy that I did, because this book is written in a kind of interview format, so you go between like several characters and their answers to interview questions, although you don't always read the interview questions, but just like all these different characters telling their side of the same story kind of. And I think that if I had read the physical book, that it might have gotten a little bit confusing, at least in the beginning, with all of the different names and characters, because you don't really have the same descriptions and like the storyteller's opinion of these characters in the same way as you would in a book that's written from like one perspective. But in the audiobook, they had different voices reading each character, which was really great. So I didn't feel confused because I could recognize the different voices and kind of match the voices with the names. So that was actually really enjoyable. I think this was a really good audiobook. I really liked this book. I felt like it did a really good job in like making me feel like I was reading about real people. I mean, the story in this book, it could have happened in real life, and it probably has happened similarly to this in some people's lives. I mean, the story is not normal, but it is about a rock band in the 70s and 80s. I just think that what happens in the story probably has happened to people in rock bands in the 70s and 80s, you know? This book pretty much just proved to me that I really like the way Taylor Jenkins Reid writes, because both The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, they were great books that I really enjoyed, and I keep recommending The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo to my friends because it was so great. And this one, just as good. I'm not quite sure what to say about it other than that I really enjoyed it. I didn't see the twist coming at the end, and I absolutely love it when I can't see the twist coming. It's always fun to be able to see it coming too because you feel smart, but it's even better to just be blindsided, and I really liked that about this book. I didn't really know where things would go, to be honest. I didn't really have a plan when I started decorating this spread, and it just started filling up more and more, and in the end I decided to put the title of the book right in the middle of the spread because this was really the only place where it made sense to have it, and I think that it fits the book quite well actually to have the title right in the middle. So I just used 2 different brush pens to write Daisy Jones, and then a third color to write And the Six. And I like how it kind of looks a little bit like a movie title or a logo or something. And I outlined everything with my orange Muji gel pen because that orange really fits with all of the yellow tones and everything. I really like how the title ended up, and then for what I was writing about the book, I used a brown Muji gel pen, and I just kind of wrote around the title. So I used the whole spread and just used it as like one sheet really, and just wrote across the page, and when I got to the title, I just like skipped to the other side of the spread and continued on the other side. I've never done this before, like having the title right in the middle like this, but I think that it looks really cool. So I'm happy that I did it. All of the stickers that you can see on this page you can find in my sticker shop, ikigaipapir.com. The washi tapes are from other places. The orange thin one is actually from Takkti, so I can definitely recommend that one. It is a really high quality washi tape. And then the stickers are all by me. The girl stickers are only available to patrons in the secret shop, so if you want the girl stickers, you're gonna have to join my Patreon. Once I was done filling in this spread, I flipped back to the cover page and I wrote down the title of the book as well as the author, and then I gave my star rating, and my star rating is very subjective. It's just how I liked the book without taking into consideration objectively good writing or, you know, all of that technical stuff. This is just how much I enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Moving on to the next book that I read. This was a novella. It's called Kim Jiyoung, born 1982. This book was recommended to me by one of my friends a really long time ago, and I just didn't pick it up until now. This book really surprised me because it started one way and then it jumped into something else, and it never really picked up where it started, or maybe I just didn't get it. I don't know, but it just, I don't know, it felt like I was reading 2 different stories in a way. But after getting through the first part, it's like a prologue kind of. When it gets into like the main story, I actually really enjoyed it. And this is a story about growing up as a girl in South Korea. It touches on a lot of topics surrounding gender equality. The reason why I found it so interesting is because I rarely hear about gender equality in South Korea. Most of the media that I see from South Korea is like K-pop and K-dramas, and I mean, I think we can all agree that most K-dramas are not really feminist. There's like so many tropes where like the woman has this like arch enemy who's this other woman, and they're like fighting over a guy or whatever, and it's just, I don't know, it's getting pretty old. But yeah, so seeing this book, which was so different, was really great. It was refreshing, and I mean, it was also a little bit sad, but I felt like I felt hooked on the story right away, if that makes sense. I really enjoyed it. Novellas are, you know, becoming more like higher and higher up on my list of favorite books this year. So for this spread, I decided to kind of split it into two. So I have this main part on the right side, and then I have a slimmer column on the left side here. And I am decorating it with some washi tape from Notebook Therapy and some stickers from Takkti, the craft paper stickers. And then I have some girl stickers that are from Mindwave, which is a Japanese company, like stationery company. I also have some other washi tapes that I don't know exactly where they are from, but they fit the theme. I wanted it to be a little bit vintage because I really like those warm brown tones, and I think that layering washi tape and stickers is like the ultimate lazy collage. It's just so easy to layer washi tape with stickers. A little bit of washi tape behind the sticker and you're good to go. I've actually been using these rectangular craft paper stickers from Takkti a lot, but I haven't been using these Monstera ones that much because I just love Monstera plants. They're some of my favorite plants, and I've just been holding on to these stickers because I'm feeling like I need to save them for the perfect opportunity. But as I keep telling you guys, the perfect opportunity doesn't exist, and you just got to use your stationery because it's not doing anything, just sitting there, right? So I had to tell myself that maybe this was the perfect opportunity. And I think that they actually work really well in the spread, and they're so simple because they're just black. So they're not like taking away too much of the attention, because I want the attention to be like evenly spread out on this page. And that's why I also layered with girl stickers and just kind of created lots of smaller collages around, like kind of framing the main part here. And then I have this section on the left side which I saved for quotes because there were lots of things in this book that I wanted to write down. I don't normally make room for quotes in my book spreads in this reading journal, but this time it just felt right to do so, so I did it. I used my 942 Tombow dual brush pen to letter Kim Jiyoung, and then I wrote born 1982 below it. And I also wrote the title of the book in Korean because it is translated from Korean into English. I can't pronounce it. I don't speak Korean. I did like one semester or 1 year of Korean when I went to university in Japan, and it was really hard. I was learning Korean in Japanese and I couldn't read my teacher's handwriting in Japanese, so it was just awful. But yeah, I really wanted to learn it back then, but oh well, maybe someday. Anyway, I have some of the quotes here that I chose on the left side, and then I just started writing my own thoughts on the book. I'm using my brown Muji gel pen here as well, and I just wrote across the entire spread just like I did on the previous spread because I felt like that just made the more sense since I had already split the page or the spread into two, but not really following the pages. So yeah, that's my thought process behind that. If you would like a short read, I can definitely recommend this novella. I really enjoyed it. There is no fantasy elements in this. This is simply literary fiction. And I thought that it was really interesting because of like the different cultural aspects, but also so many things in that book that I related to as a woman. And I think that that's always nice to see when I read books from other cultures than my own, that, we're all just human and I can still relate to those women. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that book. I rated it 5 stars, so that's pretty high praise. I stand by it. I really enjoyed it. And if you've been watching a lot of my reading journal videos, you might be a little bit confused as to why there hasn't been any fantasy books yet. But don't you worry, because here they come. The third book that I read in June was Daughter of the Moon Goddess. Now, this is a book that was on my TBR, that is to be read list. It was on my TBR list for quite some time, and I'll be completely honest, it was mostly because of the cover art. The book is by Malaysian author Su Lin Tan, and the cover art is by Kuri Huang, and I just love it so much. The US version, not the UK version. The UK version, I don't know, it's nothing special. But the US version is gorgeous. And I don't even own the book. Like, I don't have a physical copy of the book. I listened to this as an audiobook because, to be honest, I was drawing so much in June and just doing so much work where I couldn't read a book by looking at it, and I just wanted to listen to it. And this book was such a great companion through all of that work. I don't know why June felt so overwhelming that I listened to so many audiobooks, like long audiobooks too. It just worked out that way, I guess. I really enjoyed this book. It's kind of based on this Chinese legend or myth about the moon goddess Chang'e. I had never heard about this legend before, so to me, the story about Chang'e and her daughter is the way that it is told in this book. But I'm sure that Su Lin Tan made certain changes or decisions and built upon the story. It's kind of like The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. You kind of know the story, but the author has definitely changed some things and built onto the story to make it more of a novel, But I wouldn't really compare these two books because I didn't like The Song of Achilles at all. And I loved Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It's a romantic fantasy book. It has dragons, which is really great. It's not my favorite type of romance. Like, it has a lot of fade to black scenes, which I didn't really notice in other books until after reading more spicy books. But now when I come to fade to black scenes, I'm like, something is missing here. But it does make it more digestible for a younger audience, I suppose. So that's not really a complaint, it's just an observation. I don't think that the book lacks anything from those scenes. In a way, it would actually be a little bit weird if they had any. But that's just me. I really enjoyed this book. I love reading fantasy books set in different cultures than my own. The imagery was just really great. I could just imagine everything in my head, and the clothes just sound beautiful, and the hairstyles, and the magic system was really interesting. In the first couple of chapters, I was a little bit worried that the protagonist would be like kind of naive and not very clever, but it turns out that she was a really strong protagonist, but at the same time not like overpowered. I think her power kind of came from her inheritance in a way, her ancestors, and I thought that it was a really great story. And it's about love and family and finding your own place in the world. This is a duology, so there is a second book, which by the time I'm recording this, I already read the second book actually, but I did read it in the beginning of July, so it will be in my next reading journal video. But I haven't really talked about my setup for this page at all. I used mostly washi tape from Notebook Therapy. It's their Hinoki Into the Tea Room washi tape, and then I used some girl stickers from Mindwave. I made these little frames on both pages, and then I used my X-Acto knife to cut off the pieces of the washi tape that were kind of outside of the frame so that it looks like the frame is containing all of the flowers, but I put the girl stickers on the outside so that it's clear that they are kind of in the front of the image, if that makes sense. For the title, I just used a thicker brown fine liner, like a sepia color, and I did a kind of hand lettering font, but just, you know, without the thick and thin strokes. And then I used my Muji gel pen in brown again to write. I'm using the 0.5, like the 0.5 size, by the way. I really like writing with that in my reading journal. I think that the spread turned out really nice, and this washi tape is just so delicate. I did have to use my scissors to cut out all of the different pieces because the washi tape, or the pet tape, is just a continuous roll of tape, you know? So I did cut out the stickers that I wanted, or like I'm using them as stickers. By the way, if you ever want to place an order with Notebook Therapy, my code mochibujo10 gives you a 10% discount, so definitely use that if you are going to buy something from them. So here you have my star rating for Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I gave it 4 stars. I would definitely recommend reading it. I think it was just really exciting. I think the only thing that I would pick on is that it's very like, oh, we need this item, or we need to do this, and then it feels kind of like several quests in a row, like a video game. That's the only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars. For the fourth and last book that I read in June, I can only say that TikTok made me do it. For this spread, I used some of my new stationery from Paper Monogatari because I really wanted to try these in my reading journal. I often use Paper Monogatari stickers and washi tape and washi paper and all of that for cover pages in my reading journal, but since I wanted to do the more monochromatic black and white Takkti inspired cover page for June, then I thought I would use this stationery in one of the book spreads instead. And this book you will have heard of if you are on Book Talk or probably Bookstagram too. It's called Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I guess this month was the dragon month for me because this book also has a lot of dragons. I didn't really know what to expect with this book. Everyone was just saying that it was so great and that it was like the next big thing, and I thought I don't really want to miss out. But then, you know, I did that thing again where I start a series that isn't completed and now I have to wait a really long time for the next one. But you know what? I'm okay with that because I really enjoyed this book. I really liked it. I was worried that it was gonna feel a bit too much like Harry Potter type of book. I love Harry Potter, but there are just so many fantasy books where the main character goes to like a school or academy or university or whatever, and it's just, I don't know, it happens in so many fantasy books. But in this one, it did feel a little bit different. It was more like a war school, like a military school, and the main character doesn't want to be there, and she has a disability, which I thought was very refreshing. She is not overpowered. If anything, she is kind of the underdog because of her body. It's not as strong as maybe like regular bodies would be, or she's more prone to injuries. And there is like a love triangle. There's definitely romance in this book, but it's a little bit complicated. If you read the book, you know what I mean. This is one of those books where I really like the main character. Like, I really enjoy her personality. that is a huge plus for me when reading a book, because sometimes in fantasy books or in any books, you know, there will be times where you just don't like the main character, where you feel like their personality is just not very likable, or there's just something about them that you don't really enjoy. But here I really like the protagonist, Violet, and I could just tell from the beginning of this book that this world is a lot bigger than it seems in the story. Like in this first book, I don't know how many books there will be, but hopefully 3 or more. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the dragons, the relationship between the dragons and the humans. I really liked how action-filled the book was. Like every page had something happening, something new happening, either like action or new information, or, you know, something of importance to the story was happening. So I felt like the story really gripped me, and it had a hold on me the whole time, and I just couldn't put it down because something was happening all the time. There were no chapter endings where I felt like, okay, this is a good time to put it down for today. But no, it just kept going. One thing that I noticed, that I felt at least, was that this story definitely takes some inspiration from the Hunger Games books. Probably, or at least that's how I felt reading it. There were some parallels to the Hunger Games, but then again, the Hunger Games is probably not the first book that had this kind of trope. Is just the first book that I read that was like this. So yeah, not saying that this book copied the Hunger Games, because it really didn't. It's very different. It just has some similarities that I noticed while reading it. The colors and the design of my spread definitely doesn't fit the violent theme of this book, but that's okay. I think that it turned out really pretty and I'm really happy with it. I love blue and yellow together, so I really enjoyed using Paper Monogatari's stationery for the spread. Here is my star rating for Fourth Wing. I gave it 5 stars. So as you can see, all the books that I read this month, I really enjoyed reading. I gave them all 4 and 5 stars. So I think that's a good rating month, right? So let's do a little flip through of all of the spreads that I made in this video and all of the books that I read in June, just so that you guys can get a closer look. Once again, I want to thank Takkti for sponsoring this video. I'll put a link in the description box and in the comments to her shop, and with my discount code mochibujo mochibujo10, definitely check that out. I will also put links to all of the other stationery that you saw me use in this video, at least what I have links for. Let me know in the comments if you read any of the books that I read in June, and if you have any comments on them, if you agree with me or if you felt differently. I would love to know, as usual. If there is one thing that I regret with this video, is that I didn't really find time for that half-year review that I kind of promised you guys in my May reading journal video that I would put in this video. So I think I'm just gonna put it in a separate video, and I'm gonna get working on that right away so that it will probably be out before the end of July. Really sorry about that, but it's just how it happens sometimes. This video is already quite long, and I think that it is enough with all of the spreads that I made in this video, and we're talking about all of the books that I read in June. I just think that it would feel a little bit misplaced in this video, so yeah. Anyway, I'm really happy with all of the books that I read in June. It was a great reading month for me, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video as well. That is all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more reading journal content from me, definitely subscribe to my channel and click the like button. And if you watched this video all the way to the end, make sure to put a black heart emoji in your comment to let me know. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!